This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. with free weekly content and free shipping on orders over $150. You can save 5% site-wide by using the promo code MTGMudsta. If you're looking for a direct way to help the channel, please consider joining my Patreon and becoming a member of the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's video is a special one, with Wizards of the Coast having sent me this new preview deck to show to you for free. I have spared no expense, and I'm very excited to showcase some brand new cards and some sweet new reprints. As you can tell, I've gone all out with this one, and I've actually decided to be in front of the camera for once, which is a fun little change. But enough about me, let's look at some brand new cards with White Trainer Prodigy, the first legendary in this deck. For 3 mana, a red, a green, and a white, i.e. the Naya colors, we get a 1/5, which is, kind of small in terms of power. I'm used to a little bit bigger, but it makes sense, I promise. She also comes with haste, an activated ability, and a triggered ability. Her abilities make a lot of sense, and will fit well into an enraged deck. Her first one, which is the activated one, costs 2 colorless, a green, and you have to tap her. You're able to fight 2 creatures together, and there's a reduction if you have your own creatures fight each other. This makes a lot more sense for an enraged deck, plus her 1 power makes perfect sense now because it's the perfect way to deal 1 damage to your creature to get that enraged trigger. Her second ability, the triggered ability, basically allows you to double triggered abilities, as long as it has to do with damage. This works really well with Enrage, but also with cards like Boros Reckoner, which I guess if you think about it was kind of what Enrage was before Enrage became a mechanic. Other than that, I love the art. It's really vibrant, cool, beautiful colors. You have the kind of feathered dinosaur look, which we're seeing more and more of. And I just like the art because she's got her little buddy there and you're ready to fight if you need to. Next up, we have this sweet monstrosity, which is Pantlaza the Sun-Favored. We finally have a legendary dinosaur in the pre-con deck that's focused around dinosaurs, and it's great to see. We also get the brand new mechanic, which is Discover. Discover basically kind of works like Cascade, although it's not as good. You are, however, limited to this happening only once per turn, which kind of makes a degree of sense, because if it didn't, you could basically filter out every single dinosaur, in theory, out of your deck. Otherwise, this has got a really sweet art. I love the vibrant colors. I love the fact that the dinosaur is wearing armor. It's just sweet. Bronzebeaker Foragers are basically what Grasp of Fate would look like if you slapped it onto a dinosaur and made it easier to cast. Costing 4, but only 3 of its colorless and 1 white, as opposed to the 1 white and 2 colorless, when this enters the battlefield, you get to exile a non-land permanent from each opponent. Now, this already is very good, but can actually act as removal later on. The secondary activated ability, which is X and white, allows you to take those exiled cards and put them into graveyards, plus gain you some life, assuming you pay for the converted mana cost of that card. This seems like a great card in a dinosaur deck, and even just any other deck. I run it with blink effects, you don't even have to use it as removal. It's just very, very strong. Next up is the Curious Allosaur, and I'm getting massive Dinotopia vibes off of this. That was one of my favorite book series as a kid, and I guess actually the entire deck kind of gives those vibes. And for only 4 mana, we're getting a lot of value. It's got Vigilance, it's got Reach, it's got low power and big toughness, which are both things this deck want, and is a decent draw engine. I like that it's not restricted to only 1 card per player per combat, as we've been seeing a lot more of that type of effect. I think this is a great card for any dinosaur deck, and it would even work pretty well in a shapeshifter deck. Dinosaur Egg. The art on this one kind of makes me laugh. It's like the Paleozoic era meets Easter meets painting meets who knows, and the evolve mechanic on this is just a home run. What's even stranger is this doesn't have Defender like a lot of the eggs we've seen recently, and that means you can roll this bad boy down a hill the bigger it gets. It does have an on-death trigger, which is Discover X, where X is its toughness, so at least you get some value when it dies. From the Rubble is a fantastic enchantment for only 6 mana. I love it when we get themed artifacts and enchantments, as they're often more restrictive, but provide us with bigger payout. What's even better about this one is it doesn't trigger on the upkeep, it triggers on the end step, meaning you'll get 1 activation of it, at least before your next turn. This is fantastic. It gives us a new type of counter, Finality counters, which is something we put on creatures into our graveyard to bring them back. Finality counters do come with downside though, meaning if you bring a creature back and put one on it, if it dies you have to exile it instead. However, there's other ways to get around this. It doesn't care if it leaves the battlefield, which means blink effects can get rid of it. Thankfully we're playing white, and there are a lot of easy ways to do that, not to mention recurable ways as well. Progenitor's Icon. We're getting a nice trend of 3 mana value mana rocks, and this continues that. It's got some interesting abilities to it, and I think it could see some decent amount of play. What makes this mana rock stand out though is by activating it with no cost, just tapping it, which is sweet. You're able to cast the chosen type as though it has flash until the end of turn. This means you can flash in goblins, you can flash in whatever you named. This is really powerful sitting on a mana rock. It doesn't require any kind of colored activation like Alchemist's Refuge, and it's just decent. I think this card is fantastic, and I love the art. It's got that mesh of jade and gold kind of attached together, and I think it's really thematic and fun. Scion of Calamity. Scion of Calamity means Myriad is back, and it's one of my favorite mechanics introduced in the last decade, and pretty much the foundation of why I built my Tristani deck. Basically what it means is that you attack one player, and you get to make tokens go in at every other opponent you want to possibly attack. This is great in and of itself since it's a 5 mana 5/5, but what's even better is that when they connect, you get to blow up an artifact or enchantment under that opponent's control. This card could get you some decent 2 or even 3 for 1s depending on what kind of blockers your opponents have. And since we're already playing white, why not give our creatures double strike with something like True Conviction? That means that when these connect, you'll get to blow up twice as much stuff because of double strike, which is just twice as much fun. The Sunfrill Infiltrator is a Dilophosaurus, or Dilophosaurus? I'm not a paleontologist. I don't know dinosaurs super well, other than the fact that this was in Jurassic Park 1 during that scene, you know, the one. And this is a decent 3 mana 3/3. What makes this really stand out though is the fact that whenever it attacks, you get to have this become a copy of any target dinosaur you control. What's even better though is it keeps that copy ability, so that means next turn if you change your mind and want to swing it somewhere else, you can have it become a different dinosaur. It also keeps its name, which I think in the case of Legendary Rule will actually work the way that I think it will, which means you could potentially have 2 Zakamas or 2 Zaltas or whatever you want to do. So this seems like a fun card for only 3 mana. I really like the art. I just like the big frilly things. It's just really vibrant and colorful and beautiful, and it's just really cool. I think they did a great job with it. And the last of the brand new cards is the Wrathful Raptors, which I don't think I can say Wrathful Raptors. I don't know. That's a hard thing to say. We've already seen this type of card before, and it was back in Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate with the Wrathful Red Dragon. I love this type of effect. This is so powerful. It will suddenly turn your dinosaurs and your board wipes into massive lethal damage potentially. If you run something like Blasphemous Act and you have a board full of dinosaurs, all of a sudden that extra 13 or 14 points of damage are going to start blasting people's face. This is kind of like Taralf's Wet Dream. I think it's a really powerful card. I think this one is even better costed than Wrathful Red Dragon. It's 4 colorless and 1 red as opposed to 3 colorless and 2 red. And it's already just a very powerful card considering it's only 5 mana for a 5 power and 5 toughness creature. So just as exciting as brand new cards are, I often find that reprints are equally as exciting because it means that hopefully we get some brand new cards and help also get to reduce the cost of some existing ones. In this case, you might already see it, this pre-con deck is valued at about $232, I'm assuming this is US, and that's without 10 of the new cards that I've just spoiled, plus 3 cards that I wasn't given access to, which hopefully after filming this I will have access to, from the new set. That being said, there are some absolute insane reprints in this deck, and I'm really excited to show you. Obviously right off the bat, it's not Gishath, I just use this as a placeholder for Naya, but let's get into the creatures. We have stuff like Apex Altasaur, which is just insane that it's a $12 card. Obviously it wouldn't be a dinosaur deck without Zetalpa being reprinted. Zakama's in there. Xenagos God of Revels, which is again $15. We have a ton of really expensive dinosaurs that are just adding to the value of this deck. That's exactly what we want in a Commander Precon deck. We have Marauding Raptors, Regisaur Alpha, Ripjaw Raptor, like the list goes on and on. There's just also a really fun reprint with the Quartzwood Crasher, which was one of my favorite cards from Ikoria. It was also really difficult to get a hold of. And yeah, I think they really stuck with the theme and really ran with it and put some great cards in the deck. Moving on to sorceries, we have even more valuable reprints with Chandra's Ignition. This is a card that I've often forgotten to include in a lot of my red decks, and this is just in the Precon deck. This is so good. This is a ridiculous card. It's $12 too. You've also got a decent ramp package with Cultivate, Farseek, Migration Path, Rampant Growth, and we've even got the flavorful Thunderherd Migration. For instance, this is where a lot of people are going to be excited, we have the reprint of Akroma's Will. This is easily one of the strongest will after Jessica's, as it provides basically every keyword to our creatures. This allows us to either protect our creatures or swing in for a ton of damage, plus lifelink, and not have to worry about getting blocked since we have protection from everything. You've also got 2 premium removal spells with Generous Gift and Path to Exile. Next up we have artifacts, which we don't have a ton of, but I don't think that's a problem. We have Arcane Signet, which is great, and Soul Ring, which is a decent mana rock, and Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Paying only a green to draw a card is great, and the free scry on your upkeep is just icing on the cake. We see even more expensive cards with the Descendant's Path, which I'm surprised is a $10 card, and Rhythm of the Wild is just so good in a rule deck, making our creatures uncounterable, plus giving us the chance to either make them bigger or swing with haste. That's so good. This also works really well with Panzala because it gives it an extra toughness, which means that Discover X gets that much further in. For lands, I'm gonna be honest, there's the typical expectations that you'd see. We got the Thriving line, but we do have some fun ones with the Canopy Vista and Cinderglade, which are the battle land. We actually have a check land with Clifftop Retreat. We have the Game Trail and Fury Calm Snarl and Fortified Village cycle, which aren't the worst. Kessig Wolfrun is a great utility land. I think it's fantastic since it's only 1 green and 1 red, plus if you want to pump it for trample, and you have Rogue's Passage to help get in for damage. Overall, I'm extremely excited about this deck. I think there are some real bangers in it, and the reprints are fantastic. I think whoever designed this did a fantastic job of coming up with a list that includes a lot of fun brand new cards, and some really powerful and really well needed reprints. I'm excited to say that Wizards of the Coast was able to show me at least 2 of the 3 cards that I was missing, the first of which is an Earthshaker Dreadmaw. By now you've probably already seen both of the cards that I'm about to reveal, which, I mean, old news is good news and all that kind of stuff, but Earthshaker Dreadmaw is incredible. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each other dinosaur you control. This is a dinosaur deck. You're gonna draw a lot. This is only 6 mana, and it's an uncommon, with 6 power and 6 toughness. And as only he could, Jesper Eising has once more done the best, amazing, most perfect job of capturing a Dreadmaw in action. Moving forward, I really hope they stick with him for any kind of Dreadmaw, since I think that'd be an awesome kind of lineage thing going on. But let's look at the next card. The second one is Ixali's Lorekeeper. It's a 1 mana 1/1 mana dork, and it taps for any color. However, it has the restriction of only being able to be used on dinosaur spells or dinosaur abilities. The third card is one I'm not able to reveal to you as it's currently being revealed by someone else, and that's IGN China. You can find Idzquith, Firstborn of Gizath, probably on their site by now, so be sure to check out the site for more information, because I know I'll be doing the same, and I'm curious to find out what it does. Moving on to what I would include, there's a bunch of cards off the top of my head which I think are probably easily put into this deck, and you'll have a lot of fun with it. First off, Gishath, Sun's Avatar seems like a no-brainer, although the card price is a little bit of a deterrent at about $35. The newly printed Up the Beanstalk seems like a great card draw engine in the deck. And speaking of new cards, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship has the best name, and also provides our dinosaurs with +1/+1 and trample. You could also consider the new Atali Primal Conqueror if you're okay with Infect. And Galta and Mavern makes dinosaurs whenever you attack. It doesn't have to attack itself. One of the cards that I've been playing a lot with recently is Tranquil Frillback, which is a creature that has a versatile enter the battlefield trigger. It allows you to destroy artifacts or enchantments, exile graveyards, or just gain life if you need to. You also might want to consider something like Boros Charm or Heroic Intervention as a ways to protect your creatures from your own board waves and or opponents' ones. And Congregation at Dawn and Worldly Tutor will help us find those powerful dinosaurs and put them on top of our library when we need them. If you really want to stick to the theme of Toughness Matters, Last March of the Ents from the new Lord of the Rings set will do just that, and it helps you draw a bunch of cards, not to mention cheat out a bunch of creature cards, which is what your deck is probably going to want to do anyway. And if you're looking for a really flavorful win, Star of Extinction plus Wrathful Raptors is a great way to close out a game and blast some opponents in the face. As always, thanks to Wizards of the Coast for sending me this free preview deck, and a big thank you to you, the viewer. I couldn't be doing this without you, and I hope you got to enjoy the video and the reveals as much as I did making this video. Please let me know if you're thinking about getting this deck or one of the other precons, and as always, have a good one, and remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.